The massive United Nations Assembly Hall buzzed with nervous energy as delegates from every nation on Earth gathered for what many called the most important meeting in human history. The air conditioning worked overtime, but sweat still beaded on foreheads as representatives adjusted their ties and checked their translation headsets for the 100th time. When the holographic projector hummed to life in the center of the hall, conversations died instantly. Blue light filled the space. And suddenly Ambassador Krell materialized before them like something from a science fiction movie. The alien stood impossibly tall, his 12-foot frame making even the tallest humans look like children. His skin looked like living crystal, catching the overhead lights and throwing rainbow patterns across the walls and ceiling. "Greetings, people of Earth." Krell's voice boomed through the universal translators, each word perfectly pronounced but somehow still feeling alien. "We extend this invitation as a gesture of goodwill to Earth's newest members in the galactic community." Park Jun, sitting in the back row with the other Korean athletic officials, leaned forward in his chair. At 45, he had seen every major sporting event on Earth, but this was beyond anything he could have imagined. He nudged his colleagues sitting next to him. "Are they seriously inviting us to compete in alien sports?" he whispered, trying to keep his voice low in the silent hall. Krell continued, his crystalline fingers gesturing gracefully as he spoke. "The Nexus Games represent the pinnacle of athletic achievement across 47 worlds. Every for Earth years, the greatest athletes from across the galaxy gather to test their limits against impossible challenges." Dr. Hai-Na, Earth's leading expert on alien biology, sat 3 rows ahead with her datapad glowing in her lap. Numbers and specifications scrolled across the screen, and with each line she read, her frown deepened. She had spent the last 6 months studying every piece of data the galactic community had shared about their sports and competitions. The gravity readings alone made her stomach turn. Most events took place under crushing pressure that would flatten a normal human in seconds. The atmospheric compositions were toxic to human lungs. Teases athletes had to cover were measured in kilometers, not meters. The gravity specifications alone would crush most of our athletes, she muttered to herself, then louder to the official beside her. "They're not expecting us to actually compete. This has to be some kind of diplomatic formality." Around the hall, other experts were coming to the same conclusion. The medical team from Germany shook their heads as they reviewed the physical requirements. The Russian coaches looked at each other with raised eyebrows. The American sports scientists were already calculating how quickly their athletes would be eliminated. But in the back row, Park Jun was thinking differently. He watched Krell's presentation with growing excitement rather than fear. Sure, the challenges looked impossible by human standards, but he had spent his career watching Korean athletes do impossible things through pure determination and endless training. "Maybe they're not expecting us to win," he whispered to his colleague. "But that doesn't mean we can't surprise them." The transport ship's doors hissed open, and immediately every human athlete on board knew they were in trouble. The air hit them like a physical wall, thick and heavy, tasting of metal and electricity. Ikung, Korea's best marathon runner, took his first breath and felt like someone had placed a weight on his chest. This is what they call normal atmosphere. He gasped, watching his breath form strange purple clouds in the alien air. The gravity was even worse. Park Jun stepped off the ship and nearly fell to his knees as the planet pulled at him with more than twice Earth's force. His legs, strong from years of training, suddenly felt like they belonged to someone else. Around him, other human athletes stumbled and grabbed onto railings, their movements clumsy and slow. "Walk carefully," Dr. Hai-Na warned through their communication devices. "Your bones aren't designed for this kind of stress. One wrong step could mean a serious injury." World around them looked like something from a dream. Nexus Prime's surface was made of living crystal that pulsed with soft light. Massive spires stretched into the purple sky, and floating platforms carried alien spectators who moved through the air like they were swimming. Lee Kong made his way to the practice track, each step a struggle against the crushing gravity. He saw there made his heart sink. A Voltarian sprinter was warming up, and with each stride, the alien covered 30 meters effortlessly. The creature had 6 legs that moved in perfect coordination and the heavy atmosphere that was choking. Lee seemed to help the alien move even faster. How are we supposed to compete with that? Lee asked his coach. Watching the alien complete a lap in what would have been an impossible time even on Earth. Meanwhile, swimmer Soera was having her own nightmare at the competition pool. She dipped her hand into what was supposed to be water and pulled it back in shock. The liquid was thick like honey, dark blue, and it seemed to grab at her fingers. "This isn't water," she said to her coach. "This is like swimming through soup." She watched in amazement as a Craxian athlete dove into the pool. The alien had gills along its neck and arms covered in what looked like natural armor. It moved through the thick liquid like it was nothing more than air, its powerful fins propelling it forward at incredible speed. Other alien athletes were equally impressive. Jellyfish-like creatures floated above the ground effortlessly, their bodies perfect for the low-gravity aerial events. Rock-skinned beings lifted weights that would have crushed human bones, their natural armor protecting them from the crushing forces. The humans gathered in small groups, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. The medical team was already treating athletes for gravity sickness. The coaches were frantically recalculating their training programs above them. Massive screens showed the galactic betting odds. Earth's chances were listed at 10,000 to 1 against placing in any single event. Alien spectators pointed at the humans and made sounds that the translators couldn't interpret. But their meaning was clear enough. The humans were here to lose, and everyone in the galaxy knew it, while every other species at the Nexus Games came equipped with the latest technology and genetic enhancements. The human team took a completely different approach. Where aliens saw impossible obstacles, humans saw just another day at the office. The other teams watched in confusion as humans began their training routines. Instead of requesting environmental suits or atmospheric processors, they simply started adapting. Li Kong began his morning runs in the crushing gravity, his pace painfully slow at first, but his determination unwavering. "My legs feel like lead," he admitted to Park Jun after his first practice session. "But remember when we trained in the mountains during winter? This is just like that, except everything weighs more." Wrestler Han Yun quickly became a celebrity among the alien athletes when he started demonstrating human fighting techniques. A group of tall, thin Zephyrian fighters gathered around him, their forearms waving with excitement as he showed them a basic takedown. "The gravity makes everything different," Han explained, adjusting his stance to compensate for the extra. "Wait, but on Earth, we have a saying, you work with what you have, not what you wish you had." The Zephyrians had never heard of such a concept. They were used to modifying their environment to suit their needs, not changing themselves to match their surroundings. Distance runner Rinyu became something of a legend in the medical tent. While other athletes required oxygen supplements and atmospheric filters, she practiced breathing exercises that her grandfather had taught her in the mountains of Gangwon Province. "It's like training at high altitude," she explained to the worried human medical team who were monitoring her oxygen levels. "Except the altitude is trying to poison you. But our lungs are stronger than we think." The alien medical staff couldn't understand how she was surviving an atmosphere that should have damaged her respiratory system within hours. What really caught everyone's attention was something that had never happened before in Galactic Games history. The human athletes started sharing techniques across different sports. Swimmers taught runners about breath control. Wrestlers showed gymnasts how to use their body weight effectively in heavy gravity. Runners shared endurance techniques with every other athlete. Boda, the gymnast, spent her afternoons learning meditation techniques from the martial arts team. "If my mind is calm, my body can handle anything," she said, practicing her routine in gravity that should have made her movements impossible. Soera, the swimmer, started training with the track team to build her lung capacity for the thick competition. "Liquid. Water is water," she said. Though the alien pool was nothing like Earth's oceans, the alien teams had never seen anything like it. Each species typically specialized in their genetic advantages. The rock-skinned Craxians only did strength events. The bird-like aviarians only competed in aerial sports. The idea that athletes from different disciplines would help each other was completely foreign. They're sharing secrets, One Voltarian coach complained to the competition officials. This isn't how the games are supposed to work. There was no rule against cooperation because no one had ever thought to do it before. The humans were rewriting the playbook, one impossible adaptation at a time. Nobody expected the first human victory to come from Li Kang. He wasn't the fastest runner on Earth, wasn't the strongest, and definitely wasn't the most impressive athlete on the human team. But when the ultramarathon through Nexus Prime's methane storms began, he had one advantage that no alien competitor possessed. He was used to running in absolutely terrible weather. The race started under clear skies, with 47 competitors. From different worlds lined up at the starting line, the alien athletes looked confident in their specialized gear. The Voltarians had activated their energy shields. Craxians wore atmospheric processors that filtered the toxic air. The bird-like aviarians had deployed protective wings that could deflect chemical winds. Li Kang wore his regular running shoes and a simple breathing mask. For the first hour, everything went according to plan. The aliens maintained their expected pace while Li struggled in the back of the pack, his human lungs working overtime in the hostile atmosphere. The galactic commentators barely mentioned him, focusing instead on the traditional rivalries between the major species. Then, Nexus Prime's weather turned nasty. The methane storms hit like a freight train. Winds that could knock over buildings swept across the course, carrying clouds of poisonous gas that turned the air into a toxic soup. Visibility dropped to 0. The temperature plunged 50 degrees in minutes, one by one. The alien competitors activated their emergency protocols. The Voltarians retreated to protective shelters that materialized from their gear. Craxians hunkered down behind energy barriers, waiting for the storm to pass. Even the hardy rock-skinned athletes found places to hide until conditions improved. But Li Kang just kept running. "This reminds me of Seoul during monsoon season," he muttered to himself, adjusting his pace to match the wind resistance. "Except the rain doesn't usually try to kill you." The Confederation commentator, a crystalline being named Xerix, watched his tracking screen in disbelief as Li's signal continued moving forward while everyone else had stopped. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings," Xerix announced to the galactic audience, "the human competitor is still moving. He's running through Category 5 atmospheric disturbance as if it were a light breeze." Back on Earth, millions of people crowded around screens in bars, homes, and public squares. Park Jun stood in the team's command center watching Li's vital signs with growing amazement. "His heart rate is steady," the medical officer reported. "He's actually maintaining pace in conditions that should be lethal to human life." Meanwhile, in the swimming venue, Era was creating her own miracle. The deep-pressure swimming events took place in liquids so dense and under pressure so intense that most species needed mechanical assistance just to move through it. So, Ara had a different approach. Instead of fighting against the crushing pressure, she used it. She had spent weeks studying how whales moved in Earth's deepest oceans, learning to let the water carry her rather than forcing her way through it. "She's not swimming," one alien expert observed, watching her fluid movements. "She's flowing." Her technique looked effortless, almost like she was dancing with the liquid rather than struggling against it. While other competitors fought for every meter, Era glided through the course like the pressure was helping her. Instead of hindering her, the betting boards flickered and updated. Earth's odds improved from 10,000 to 1 down to 1,000 to 1. The galaxy was starting to pay attention. Dr. Xeris had always prided himself on being the galaxy's most thorough researcher. His crystalline body allowed him to process information at incredible speeds, and his forearms could operate multiple data terminals simultaneously. But as he stared at the screen displaying Earth's planetary classification, his normally steady appendages began to shake uncontrollably. For 3 days straight, he had been trying to understand how the humans were performing so well in conditions that should have killed them. Their success made no scientific sense. Every calculation, every biological model, every piece of data suggested they should have been eliminated in the first round. So he dug deeper into Earth's files. What he found changed everything. The emergency session of the Galactic Scientific Council was called within hours. Representatives from 47 worlds gathered in the Great Chamber, their various forms of communication, creating a symphony of clicks, harmonics, and electromagnetic pulses as they speculated about why such an urgent meeting had been called. Dr. Zaris stood at the center podium, his research data floating in holographic displays around him. He had double-checked everything 3 times, but the facts remained the same. "Colleagues," he began, his voice carrying across the chamber's translation systems, "we have made a serious error in our assessment of the human species." The chamber fell silent. Even the hive minds stopped their constant background humming. According to our planetary classification system, Earth is rated as a Class 12 death world. He paused, letting the words sink in. Only 12 such worlds in the known galaxy have ever produced sentient life. The chamber erupted. The bird-like aviarians screeched in disbelief. The rock-skinned Craxians made grinding sounds that translated as shocked curses. The jellyfish-like ethereals pulsed with colors that meant impossible in their light language. A Class 12 death world meant everything on the planet was actively trying to kill its inhabitants. The gravity was crushing. The weather was violent and unpredictable. The atmospheric composition was toxic to most life forms. The geological activity could reshape continents without warning. "The data is clear," Zaris continued, raising his voice over the chaos. "Earth's baseline gravity is considered heavy by galactic standards. Their weather includes Category 6 atmospheric disturbances on a regular basis. Our oceans are acidic enough to dissolve most spaceship hulls. Their entire planet experiences regular earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and storms that would be classified as natural disasters on any civilized world." One of the council members, a towering Volkovian with 6 eyes, gestured frantically. "Are you saying that their homeworld is more dangerous than our competition environments?" "Much more dangerous," Zaris replied grimly. "What we consider extreme competition conditions would be classified as mild weather on Earth. Our methane storms? They call that a light breeze. Our crushing deep pressure events? Their athletes train in similar conditions in Earth's oceans." For fun, the revelation hit the council like a physical blow. The humans weren't struggling with the impossible conditions of the Nexus games. They were actually competing in an environment that was easier and safer than what they experienced every single day at home. "They're not just surviving our tests," Zaris concluded. "They're relaxing during them." The transformation happened almost overnight. What started as whispered conversations in the alien stands became headlines across galactic news networks. Deathworld competitors' shocked galaxies scrawled across screens in 47 languages. While sports commentators struggled to explain what they were witnessing, the nickname stuck immediately. The Deathworld team appeared on merchandise, fan signs, and betting pools within hours. Alien spectators who had come to watch a diplomatic curiosity found themselves genuinely invested in human success stories. Park Jun discovered his new celebrity status after the mixed gravity relay race, where the human team had somehow managed to place second against species that had evolved in variable gravity conditions. As he walked back from the victory ceremony, he found himself surrounded by a crowd of alien athletes, all wanting to talk. A massive Korvaxian swimmer approached him, using all 4 of its muscular arms to gesture excitedly. Through the universal translator, its voice came out high-pitched and eager. "Captain Park, you must teach us your pain tolerance techniques. How do you train your athletes to ignore such extreme discomfort?" Park stared at the alien genuinely. "Confused? Pain tolerance techniques? Not sure what you mean." "The way your runners continue through atmospheric disturbance," another alien added. "The way your swimmers function under crushing pressure. The mental conditioning must be extraordinary." Park scratched his head, thinking about Li Kang running through the methane storm like it was just another Tuesday morning jog in Seoul. "We don't really have special techniques. We just what needs to be done. That's normal for us." Aliens exchanged glances that somehow conveyed amazement across species barriers. Meanwhile, in the artistic gymnastics venue, Boda was creating her own legend. The null-gravity artistic competition had always been dominated by species that evolved in low-gravity environments or had natural flight capabilities. But when Boda began her routine, the entire arena fell silent. She moved through zero gravity like she had been born in space. While other competitors relied on technological assists, small thrusters, and orientation devices to maintain control, Boda simply used her body. She spun, twisted, and flowed through the air with movements that seemed to defy the laws of physics. "She's not using any assistance," one judge whispered to another. "How is she maintaining spatial awareness without equipment?" Boda later explained to reporters that she had learned the techniques from traditional Korean dance and martial arts. "My grandmother taught me that balance comes from within," she said simply. "Gravity is just another partner to dance with." The betting boards reflected the galaxy's changing attitude. Earth's odds had plummeted from the original 10,000 to 1 down to 50 to 1. Professional gamblers who had placed money on Earth as a joke were now watching their potential winnings with serious interest. In sports bars across the galaxy, conversations had shifted from "when will the humans be eliminated" to "how far can they actually go?" The underdogs were becoming favorites. Nobody could quite believe what they were seeing. The Deathworld team was rewriting galactic sports history one impossible victory at a time. The championship rounds were designed to break athletes. The course designers had created what they called the ultimate test, a 3-hour gauntlet that combined every deadly element from the galaxy's most hostile environments. Competitors would face crushing gravity that increased every hour atmosphere, so toxic it could melt unprotected skin, and terrain that shifted without warning between frozen ice fields, bubbling lava pools, and acid lakes that could dissolve bone. Most species brought their best technology to survive. The Voltarians activated full environmental suits that looked like walking tanks. The Craxians deployed energy shields so powerful they created visible barriers around their bodies. The bird-like Aviarians used anti-gravity generators to float above the dangerous terrain. The human team showed up with running shoes, basic breathing masks, and each other. "It's like a tough day at the office," Park Jun said, studying the course layout. "Reminds me of the training we did after the Gwangju floods." The other human athletes nodded. They had all survived natural disasters that would have wiped out entire alien colonies. This was just another challenge to overcome. Together, when the starting signal echoed across the arena, something unprecedented happened. While every other species spread out to tackle the course individually, the humans moved as a unit. They had quietly discussed strategy the night before, planning how to use each person's strengths to help the whole team succeed. Martial artist Choda took point during the combat sections, his years of training helping him navigate the fighting obstacles while calling back warnings to his teammates. When swimmer Soara struggled with the hand-to-hand combat requirements, Cho stayed with her, teaching her defensive moves on the fly. "Block with your forearm, not your hand," he shouted over the arena's noise, demonstrating the technique while acid rain poured down around them. "Trust your instincts." Meanwhile, distance runner Rin Yu had taken on the role of pace setter for the endurance segments. When archer Hanbo started falling behind during the marathon portion, she slowed her own pace to match his, sharing her water and encouraging him to keep moving. "We finish together or not at all," she told him, her voice steady despite the toxic atmosphere burning her lungs. The galactic audience watched in stunned silence as humans helped each other through sections where they weren't even competing. For the same medals, Chota sacrificed his own ranking in the combat events to help Soara advance. Rin, you gave up her chance at individual glory to ensure Hanbo completed the course. "They're helping each other," the amazed commentator announced 2 billion of viewers across the galaxy. Individual competitors are sacrificing their personal rankings for team success. This is completely unprecedented in Galactic Games history. Kosh frantically tried to understand what they were seeing. The concept of sacrificing individual achievement for group benefit was so foreign to most species that they didn't even have words for it in their languages. But for the humans, it was just common sense. On Earth, you survive disasters by working together. Personal glory meant nothing if your team didn't make it home. The arena fell completely silent as the final scores appeared on the massive displays floating above Nexus Prime's Crystal Stadium. Competition officials checked and double-checked their calculations. unable to believe what their computers were telling them. In the VIP section, alien dignitaries leaned forward in their seats, their various forms of vision straining to confirm what seemed impossible. Earth had placed third overall in the Galactic Games. The humans had won individual medals in 12 different events. Li Kong's victory in the ultramarathon had been followed by So Ara's domination of 3 separate swimming competitions. Boda had swept the artistic events, while the relay teams had broken records that had stood for centuries. Park Jun stood with his team in the competitors' area, watching the scoreboard in disbelief. "Are we really seeing this?" he whispered to Dr. Haina, who was frantically checking her datapad to make sure there hadn't been some kind of translation error. "The numbers are real," she confirmed, her voice shaking with emotion. "We actually did it, round them." Alien competitors who had initially dismissed the humans as diplomatic tokens now approached with something that looked remarkably like respect. The Voltarian team captain, who had won the overall competition, extended what appeared to be a congratulatory gesture to Park Jun. "Your species has taught us much about the nature of competition," the alien said through its translator. "Underestimated the power of what you call teamwork." The closing ceremony was unlike anything in Galactic Games history. Instead of the usual polite diplomatic applause, the alien audience erupted in genuine celebration when the human team was announced. Species that had never shown emotion before displayed what could only be described as enthusiasm. Ambassador Krell, the same crystalline being who had delivered the invitation to Earth months earlier, stood at the podium with the team trophy. His entire demeanor had changed from the formal, diplomatic courtesy of their first meeting. When he called Park Jun forward to receive the award, there was unmistakable respect in his voice. Captain Park Jun of Earth Krell announced to the galaxy-wide audience, "Your species has shown us that survival shapes champions in ways we never understood. You have redefined what it means to compete." As Park accepted the trophy, his hands trembling slightly from exhaustion and emotion, the ceremony reached its most powerful moment. Earth's flag began to rise alongside those of the hegemony winners and the Crystal Empire runners-up, the human athletes. Standing together on the podium, began to sing their national anthem, their voices rough from breathing toxic atmosphere. For weeks, somehow carried across the stadium with perfect clarity. The melody was simple, but it spoke of home, of struggle, and of never giving up. The alien audience fell completely silent, listening to something they had never heard before, the sound of a species that had learned to find beauty in hardship. Some aliens later said that hearing humans sing about their difficult, dangerous homeworld while standing victorious on an alien planet was the most moving moment in their lives. When the last note faded, the silence stretched for several heartbeats before the entire stadium erupted in applause that lasted for nearly 10 minutes. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. 12 months had passed since the impossible victory, and Nexus Prime looked completely different. Where once there had been a single competition venue designed for the galaxy's elite athletes, now there stood the sprawling complex of the Extreme Environment Athletic Institute. The facility buzzed with activity as transport ships arrived every hour, carrying athletes from dozens of worlds who wanted to learn the secrets of human training. Dr. Haina walked through the main training hall, still amazed by how much had changed. As the new director of the institute, she watched alien athletes struggle through what humans considered basic warm-up exercises. A group of Voltarian sprinters were attempting to jog in Earth-normal gravity, their movements slow and labored, compared to the human coaches running effortlessly beside them. "Remember, don't fight the gravity," called out Li Kong, who had become one of the Institute's most popular instructors. "Let it make you stronger. Every step is building muscle you didn't know you had." The Voltarians, who had dominated Galactic, sprinting for centuries, nodded respectfully and tried to match his pace. They had come here because they wanted to understand how a primitive biped had outrun them in conditions they considered extreme. In the swimming complex, Zara supervised a mixed species group working in pressure pools that simulated Earth's ocean depths. Alien swimmers who had never needed to deal with natural water resistance were learning to move through liquid that actually pushed back. "Your technology has made you efficient," so Era explained to a frustrated Craxian swimmer. But efficiency isn't the same as adaptability. When the water gets rough, you need to know how to surf the waves, not just cut through them. The biggest change was in the philosophy of training itself. The Galactic Games had been restructured to include Deathworld divisions, separate categories, for species that came from hostile environments, but more importantly, the entire approach to athletic preparation had shifted. Park Jun stood in his office overlooking the main training floor, watching the daily controlled chaos with satisfaction. Through the massive viewport, he could see another transport ship landing, one carrying a delegation of coaches from the prestigious Hegemony Athletic Academy. "Still think they invited us as a diplomatic gesture?" Dr. Haina asked, joining. Him at the window, Park chuckled, remembering that first meeting in the UN Assembly Hall. "I think we might have misunderstood who was really getting the education." Below them, a group of young human athletes was demonstrating team coordination exercises to alien observers. The humans moved together like they shared a single mind, each person covering for their teammates' weaknesses without needing verbal communication. "They want to bottle what we have," Park observed. "But they don't understand that you can't learn it in a classroom. You have to live it." The galaxy had learned something profound from watching humans compete. For thousands of years, alien civilizations had focused on avoiding hardship, using technology to create perfect environments for their athletes. But humans had shown them a different path. The greatest champions weren't created in perfect conditions. They were forged in adversity, shaped by struggle, strengthened by learning to thrive when everything was working against them. Outside, more ships appeared on the horizon, carrying athletes who wanted to train not where life was easy, but where it was real.